Sarma Melngailis was a passionate vegan chef who wanted to share her love of raw food with the world. Then, she landed in prison. No one would have put Anthony Strangis and Sarma Melngailis together. Sarma was a thin, health-conscious vegan and restaurant entrepreneur. Anthony was an overweight gambler who loved Subway tuna salad sandwiches with extra mayo. Sarma founded a famous raw vegan restaurant in New York City called Pure Food and Wine, where A-list customers like Alec Baldwin, Tom Brady, and Chelsea Clinton regularly dined. He promised Sarma that he could help her dog live forever, and she, a sane businesswoman, really believed it. Sarma was successful. Anthony was borderline homeless. But Anthony promised to help her be more financially independent. They started dating and eventually got married. But their lives were not happily ever after. Sarma and Anthony now face up to 15 years in prison. Sarma was born and raised in Newton, Massachusetts. Her father was a Latvian immigrant who became a physicist at MIT. Her mother was a personal chef who co-founded Alyson's Orchard, a 450-acre apple orchard. Sarma's mother inspired her love for fresh, healthy food. Sadly, her parents divorced when she was 9 years old. Sarma attended Newton High School and in 1994 graduated from Wharton College at the University of Pennsylvania with a degree in economics. She moved to New York City to practice investment banking at Bear Stearns. Then she moved to Bain Capital in Boston. Sarma came back to New York City to work at CIBC, but soon quit to enroll in New York's French Culinary Institute. Still, her business and finance background served her well in the food industry, at least in the beginning. Sarma and her then-boyfriend, Matthew Kenny, opened Commissary in 2001. Kenny was a well-known chef, author, and speaker in the restaurant industry. When they closed Commissary in 2003, Sarma consulted for Jeffrey Chodorow's China Grill management. In 2004, Chodorow, Kenny, and Sarma opened Pure Food and Wine, New York's first upscale raw food restaurant. It was located near Gramercy Park and was consistently rated as one of the top restaurants in the city. Pure Food and Wine was listed twice in New York Magazine's Top 100 Restaurants and the Platt 101. It ranked on Forbes' All-Star New York Eateries list for 5 years in a row. The consistent praise for Pure Food and Wine and the high prices and upscale atmosphere made it a hotspot for celebrities. Alec Baldwin, Chelsea Clinton, and Tom Brady were frequent customers. Baldwin became especially friendly with Sarma. He invited her to a staged reading of Moby Dick in the Hamptons. Then he confided in her about his desire for a wife and children. Sarma encouraged him to get a dog, but he resisted. She fixated on the idea and fell in love with the image of a brown pit bull named Quinn she found online. One night, she woke up crying about Quinn, so she adopted him from his Brooklyn shelter. When she broke up with her then-boyfriend, Sarma kept the puppy and changed his name to Leon. Meanwhile, Baldwin kept coming back to the restaurant and even met his current wife, Hilaria, there. In 2011, Baldwin made Hilaria a Twitter account. One of her first followers was someone with the handle @Disciple of Todd, who went by several nicknames like Mr. Fox or Mr. Longbottoms. Mr. Fox already had some back and forth with Baldwin, so Sarma started following him on Twitter, and that's when they started flirting. Anthony was raised by his parents in a ranch house in Brockton, Massachusetts. His father, John, was a local policeman and avid gambler. His mother, Patricia, decided to leave him after 7 years of marriage and one child together. But when she told him she was leaving, he threatened her. Little Anthony came into the room and things settled down a bit. The family sat together for 3 to 4 hours as Anthony's father threatened violence on his soon-to-be ex-wife. Finally, John left the house and Patricia called the police. The police called John and informed him of his wife's pleading phone call. He stormed back into the home and ripped the phone off the wall. After they officially divorced, Anthony spent his time with both parents. Patricia tried to secure full custody of her young son, but failed. Anthony never graduated from college. In 2004, a 23-year-old Anthony lived in a trailer park in Sarasota, Florida with his father. He met Stacy Avery, a young mother who had just separated from her husband. Anthony came on strong to Stacy, and they eventually got married in Las Vegas after only a few months of dating. Stacy was taking birth control, and Anthony persuaded her to stop. She got pregnant soon after. Anthony didn't have a house, but Stacy did, so he moved in with her. Anthony then pawned her jewelry, saying he was in line to inherit $5 million from his aunt. To prove it, he took Stacy Stacy with him to the financial advisory firm Raymond James to tell them how he wanted his money invested. Some of the money would go into a college account for Stacy's daughter. Things took a scary turn when the couple visited Anthony's father's trailer. Anthony tripped over a heating vent and found a grenade in it. He told Stacy they were out to get him. She scoffed, noticing that was an antique grenade with no pin. It was clear that Anthony had strategically placed it there. She started questioning her decision to stay with Anthony, and she couldn't help but wonder, who is they? In 2005, Stacy fell 3 months behind her mortgage. Anthony had already pawned all of her electronics, and she had nothing to her name. So Anthony took off without any word of warning to Stacy, her daughter, or their shared 8-month-old baby boy. Anthony has never visited his son, nor sent any child support to Stacy to this day. He and Sarma started talking in 2011 while living out of his father's van in New Bedford, Massachusetts. The father-son duo often traveled from casino to casino. In July 2012, Anthony's father passed away in the van at 72 years old. To this day, nobody knows what happened. Sarma and Anthony talked online for a while and finally met in person in New York in November 2011. Anthony wasn't in bad shape, but definitely looked different than he appeared online. His personality was too big to ignore, and the two started dating pretty seriously. Anthony promised to give the already successful Sarma enough money to become independent of the investors who wanted a piece of pure food and wine. He offered to help pay off her debts, including $1 million for Chodorow and a $500,000 mortgage she took to bail Kenny out of a poor restaurant investment in Maine. But none of this money materialized. In 2012, Sarma tried to break up with Anthony. Instead, they got married the next month. Anthony promised Sarma that she would be safer as his wife. Anthony became a manager at Pure Food and Wine in 2013 and was introduced to employees as Shane Fox. In 2015, the staff at Pure Food and Wine and One Lucky Duck, a retail store and juice shop attached to Pure Food and Wine, staged a walkout. Sarma hadn't paid her employees more than a month's wages, and it wasn't the first time. Sarma was forced to close both restaurants. In an interview with Well and Good, she said the delayed wages were due to poor profit margins due to expensive ingredients and mounting debts. Sarma said she was also suffering, having missed her own rent payments. But to employees, Sarma blamed a recent change in banks. In 2015, Sarma reopened both Pure Food and Wine and One Lucky Duck, but most of the staff did not return. That July, the team held another walkout due to unpaid wages. Both restaurants were permanently shut down. Sarma's massive debt increased even more, and now she was a wanted criminal for labor law violations, tax fraud, and grand larceny. Police put out a warrant for the loving couple, but they disappeared for nearly a year, leaving investors and staff wondering if they would ever get paid. They owed investors $844,000, employees $40,000, and $400,000 in sales tax. In 2016, Sarma and Anthony were arrested at a hotel near Dollywood after he ordered Domino's Pizza using his real name. They stayed in separate hotel rooms, and Sarma denied that the pizza was for her. Anthony's warrants detailed similar crimes. He was a fugitive from justice, wanted for grand larceny, scheme to defraud, and labor law violations. Sarma was offered a plea deal in which she would serve 1 to 3 years in prison. Her attorneys were planning a coercive control defense. She pleaded guilty in 2017 to stealing more than $2 million from investors, scheming to defraud, and criminal tax charges. It was discovered that this money funded luxury vacations and Anthony's gambling addiction. She was sentenced to 4 months in prison and 5 months of probation. After spending 4 months at Rikers Island in NYC, Sarma filed for divorce from Anthony in 2018. During their marriage, Anthony allegedly convinced Sarma of several outlandish things, but Anthony's lawyers deny all of the following information. Anthony started by telling Sarma about his brother, who was a surveillance expert and was connected to dangerous, mysterious forces. Anthony told her that his brother knew Sarma's computer had been hacked and she had to send him the login info to her email, cell phone, and bank accounts for her own safety. When she protested, Anthony asked if Sarma had taken her antidepressant, Wellbutrin, that day. He told her she couldn't trust herself or her memory due to her medication. Anthony also told her he had a gift that allowed him to immediately tell the difference between blue shirts and red shirts, a metaphor for good people and bad people. Apparently, some of Sarma's employees at Pure Food and Wine were red shirts. Anthony was also borrowing millions from Sarma, saying that each loan was a cosmic endurance test. He said that passing would change her life. She would become a global brand with a documentary that could change the food industry and help eliminate factory farming. He promised Sarma that she would finally accomplish her goals and could stay young forever. Meanwhile, Anthony gained weight. Unlike Sarma, Anthony was not vegan. He told Sarma that being attracted to him despite his obesity was another test. He constantly told her that he and his mysterious brother were always watching her. Anthony apparently even called a raw food restaurant in Los Angeles where Sarma was eating, even though she hadn't told him where she was. "Mr. Fox is on the line," he said. If she didn't pass these tests, he threatened, Anthony and his brother would come for her. He told Sarma that her beloved dog Leon was actually his dog in a previous life. Their meeting had been 1,000 years in the making. If she passed these tests, he promised Leon would become immortal. Anthony even scammed Sarma's mother. He begged her for money to support his wife, who was recovering after losing a baby and struggling with bulimia and depression. Sarma's mother believed him and lent him $450,000. According to the indictment, Sarma transferred $1.6 million from her business account to her personal account. Anthony apparently spent $1.2 million of this at casinos. Whenever Sarma was out of town, Shane, aka Anthony, acted like the boss and frequently demanded a week's worth of cash receipts from Pure Food and Wine. Anthony's half-sister once heard Sarma yelling at him, wondering when she would receive the cash he promised to refund her. Suppose all of Sarma's claims are true. In that case, she could have been suffering from coercive control, a form of domestic cruelty that uses psychological manipulation similar to cultish behavior, even if only one or two people are involved. In a case of coercive control, one person tries to eliminate another person's sense of reality and all other options. Sarma's defense team argues that Anthony was a con artist who manipulated her into believing that she would get it back tenfold if she lent him money. In March 2022, Netflix released Bad Vegan, a miniseries from the producers of Tiger King and Fire, the Greatest Party That Never Happened. The docuseries tells Sarma's story, but doesn't shy from less glamorous allegations that she was a vegan who ate cheese and stole thousands of dollars from her staff. Sarma turned her professional company website into a personal blog called Sarma Raw, where she went into detail. She called the miniseries disturbingly misleading and criticized the marketing campaign for associating her name with fraud. She says Netflix twisted her words, left out many important aspects of her story, and made it seem like she and Anthony are on good terms. The whole series is told from her perspective, but producers cast doubt on her whole story in the last 10 minutes of the final episode. To this, Sarma pleasantly asks why, and justifies it as a cheap way to get viewers. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section what you would rather do. Commit fraud because your significant other asked you to, or break up.